coal miners union in West Virginia is urging Senator Joe Manchin to reconsider his position on the social spending package, also known as Build Back Better. That's the social spending package that Manchin announced that he would be voting against during a recent interview on Fox. Now, it turns out that the bill is, wow, unsurprisingly popular among workers in states like West Virginia, especially mine workers or miners who have noticed that some of these provisions would really dramatically improve their lives. The labor union noted that the bill includes an extension of a fund that provides benefits to coal miners suffering from black lung disease, which expires at the end of the year. The United Miners of West Virginia, they also touted tax incentives that encourage manufacturers to build facilities in coal fields that would employ thousands of miners who lost their jobs. Okay, so this is the least shocking development imaginable. Now, of course, you'll hear from corporate media, you'll hear from corporate Democrats, you'll hear from people like Nate Silver, who will make the argument that this type of legislation is not popular in a state that overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump. But when we're talking about bread and butter issues, it doesn't matter if we're talking about it in the context of a Democrat or Republican. These are provisions that improve people's lives materially, and that's why you have the coal miners speaking out and urging Joe Manchin to support it. Now, here's a statement from the union president. He says, "For those and other reasons, we are disappointed that the bill will not pass. We urge Senator Manchin to revisit his opposition to this legislation and work with his colleagues to pass something that will keep coal miners working and have a meaningful impact on our members and their families and communities." Now, there are other provisions that they favor in the Build Back Better agenda. For instance, the president also added in his statement that the spending package includes a provision to penalize companies that deny workers the ability to unionize, a measure taken from the larger pro-union PRO Act that Manchin claims he supports. Okay, and the union president also says that this language is critical to any long-term ability to restore the right to organize in America in the face of ramped up union busting by employers. But now there is no path forward for millions of workers to exercise their rights at work. And so one other note, this particular union has honored Joe Manchin in the past. In fact, they named Manchin an honorary member just last year. And in response to that, Joe Manchin said, quote, "Standing alongside UMWA members while they fought tooth and nail to secure the pension and healthcare benefits they rightfully earned has been one of the greatest honors of my life." Well, now he's got a chance to prove it. So we'll see what happens, but I love that the miners union has come out and urged Manchin to change his mind on this.
Okay, this is really important for a number of reasons. So there's the excuses that Manchin has that corporate media absolutely loves. So excuse number one is, well, West Virginia doesn't want Build Back Better. Well, that's not true. You break down the provisions and they're intensely popular. Paid family leaves at 70%. Medicare negotiating drug prices at 83%, taxing the wealthies at 68%, and we go on. So it's just not true. And people like Nate Silver, who apparently don't do polling, they do manipulation of polling, right? Looks at it and goes, oh, wow, the latest version that Manchin cut in half made it. By the way, he doesn't say this, but it actually cut its popularity nationwide by almost half, right? When they cut the funding, they did not add popularity, they subtracted popularity, significantly so. And Nate takes the worst poll and pretends that it represents everything and doesn't even bother doing West Virginia specific polling. I tell you all that because they love to use that as their number one excuse when it isn't true. The people of West Virginia do want those provisions, and they want nearly every provision in Build Back Better, and we can prove it to you. Second excuse is coal miners. And they go, oh, Manchin isn't doing this because of his donors. He cares so much about the coal mining jobs. And West Virginia, they make it seem like every job in West Virginia is coal mining. You know how many jobs in West Virginia are still coal mining? 11,418 jobs. Now 11,000 jobs, that's a decent amount. But in the context of West Virginia, it's still tiny. It's not like, oh my God, no, it's a tiny, tiny percentage. Okay, now, on top of that though, do the coal miners actually agree with Manchin? No, they just told you. No, we don't agree with Manchin.
Exactly.
We like this bill. So there's absolutely no excuse for Manchin. The only real reason left is he's doing it because he got paid to do it and because he owns a coal company. By the way, credit to the New York Times. Jonathan Weissman's been writing a number of good articles about this, and he wrote one today mentioning Manchin's coal company and his fossil fuel energy donors. They talked about campaign contributors. The New York Times.
Is the New York Times doing reporting?
I know, it was weird. Ooh. Oh, the exception proves the rule. But hey, look, seriously though, credit where credit's due. If they did that every day, I'd tell you to read the New York Times and how great they are, right? So wait, hey, we broke through a little bit, but outside of that one report, still people are pretending that Manchin is an honest, principled legislator when everything, including the coal miners, indicate he's a crook.
And one thing that I wanted to bring up is how I'm noticing this trend of individuals who love to provide cover, who love to play interference on behalf of bad actors and corrupt politicians like Joe Manchin, making this argument that, well, you want to focus your ire on Joe Manchin, but what about the 50 other Republicans in the Senate? Okay, let's address that real quick. They don't matter. Okay, this is a bill that was supposed to pass with a simple majority through the reconciliation process. Democrats spent an entire election cycle, in fact, they spent every election cycle talking about how much better they are than the Republican Party. How they want to represent the little guy, unlike the Republican Party. How the Republican Party is such a giant threat to the American people, but don't worry, Democrats are gonna fight back against that because they're so different. So if they campaign on this understanding that Republicans are gonna be obstructionists, that Republicans are not gonna wanna work with them, that Republicans do not care about the policies that they claim to care about, why are we now trying to shift the blame over to Republicans? No. Democrats have a majority. It's a slim majority, but if they pass this through reconciliation, they just need simple majority to pass it. Yes, that means they need every single Democratic senator to vote in favor of it, and they need Kamala Harris to break the tie. So yes, Joe Manchin is single-handedly blocking this legislation. We don't need a single Republican to vote in favor of it. I don't want to hear about Lisa Murkowski. I don't want to hear about any other Republican senator. I don't want to hear about the moderate Republican senators. They don't matter. Don't campaign on how you're so different from the Republican Party and then turn around and say, no, let's blame the Republicans. No, you guys are in power. There are no excuses. Get it done, period.
Yeah, guys, look at all the other media outlets, right?
Losers, they're losers, feckless losers.
You should be wary of the fake left that never criticizes the Republican Party. That's a weird stance. Every Republican is wrong on this issue. That's easy. Obviously, they're wrong, but actually that is also a criticism of corporate Democrats, because corporate Democrats constantly tell us, no, Republicans, we're working with them. Mitt Romney might do child tax credit. Murkowski, are you kidding me? Shut up already and stop defending Republicans, you're gross. So we're very clear, the Republicans are definitely guilty. On the other hand, when you go to corporate media and they're like, no, it's just the Republicans. Poor Democrats, there's nothing they can do. Well, that's just counterfactual. As Anna just laid out, the math is not complicated. You have enough senators to do it on your own. So pretending that it's just the Republicans that are blocking you is absurd. And Joe Manchin is not just a Democrat and hence the Democratic Party should be held responsible, but everyone who promised that Joe Manchin was gonna vote for this bill, Biden, Pelosi, Schumer, they of course should be held accountable. And when we say that, by the way, now the Democratic establishment trolls are back in social media.
I know, I love it. Go ahead and cry. Go ahead and cry, pay for the trolls. I find it hilarious because that is honestly the action of losers. Losers who know they're losers, so they have to literally pay for bots to give people the illusion that, people are on their side, defending them, that they did everything they can do. No, they're losers. I mean, we're talking about the party that had a super majority in Congress when Obama got elected in 2008. And what did Obama do with that power, with that political capital? Just one failure after the next, which is why I want to show you this graph real quick. This is from Open Secrets, and it shows the political donations given by the miners union to both Democrats and Republicans. And if you notice, the campaign contributions to Republican candidates has actually gone up considerably since 2014. You want to know why? Because the Democratic Party is no longer able to claim that they're the party that represents workers in this country. They have abandoned workers, they have failed workers, they failed average Americans. And so, I mean, can you really blame voters who got Obama elected twice, voters in states like Florida abandoning the Democratic Party after one failure after the next, after the next, after the next? They have to take some responsibility for it, but they think they can play all these little games and fearmonger about the other side and somehow escape defeat. No, they will be defeated, they deserve to be defeated. And as I've said before, we don't deserve the Republican Party, but this is what we've got. This is what we're dealing with.
Yeah, last thing is that, at least the right wing and the fake left wing trolls are aggressive, right? It's kind of a weird backhanded compliment to them, right? But the Democratic establishment bots and trolls are hilarious because they're like, it's not fair. There's nothing they can do. Why won't you acknowledge there's nothing? They're impotent. Please acknowledge that the Democrats are impotent, and that's why we should vote for them. That's not a great case. And they're like, but your guys are being too mean by stating the truth so clearly. Okay, all right, well, guilty as charged.
Yeah, go ahead and cope.
Yeah. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.